Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the upcoming Delfasco Forge Superfund site virtual outreach meeting. Our event will begin shortly. We will be providing simultaneous interpretation for today's meeting. After connecting to the meeting audio, please select your preferred language for listening. Please look for an interpretation or globe button. Click that icon and select your preferred language, English or Spanish. For those who prefer to listen in English, please be sure to click the interpretation button and ensure that you have selected English as your default language. Failure to select the language may result in disruptions during the broadcast. We recommend participants mute original audio as well. You may use the meeting chat to report technical difficulties or request assistance with the live broadcast at any time. Please feel free to send a direct message to me, the technical moderator, letting me know how the audio and visuals are working for you. We will start in 4 minutes. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's session. My name is Tom Ruiz, and I'm with EPA Region 6. I will be serving as the technical moderator from EPA to assist in the background for today's session. I would like to now cover a few brief housekeeping items to ensure that everyone understands how to participate in this session. Today's session will be held live on Zoom, and you may participate using the free Zoom application through any web browser or by telephone. Audio will be available online with your device or by telephone. Remember, there are audio controls located in the lower left, which will allow you to select your preferred method for listening. We are also providing interpretation services available in Spanish for today's event. We kindly remind everyone that you must select a language, English or Spanish, under the interpretation or globe icon. For those who prefer to listen in English, please be sure to click the interpretation button and ensure that you have selected English as your default language. Failure to select the language may result in disruptions in the live broadcast. We recommend participants to mute original audio as well. Should you have any issues joining through Zoom or listening through your device, the audio from today's meeting will be available in English via the optional call-in line. If you require any technical assistance during today's live meeting, please send me a direct message in the meeting chat. Live closed captioning is also available in today's meeting. Please look for a CC or closed caption button at the bottom of your screen to enable this feature. It may be located under a menu for more options. Later in our meeting, participants will be invited to share verbal remarks using their device microphone or telephone. We will provide instructions at that time on how to unmute and speak. Until then, we kindly ask that all parties remain muted. Today's session is being recorded. And now I'll hand it over to the Remedial Project Manager, Hope Schroeder.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Thank you everybody for coming tonight to our community meeting. Again, as Tom had just discussed, we do have translation services, so there'll be a pause after each slide for that to be translated. Some quick notes, as we had just discussed, there's a Spanish channel available, and there's also a room available for those attending the broadcast in person at the Shotwell Life Center. For those attending in person, there's handouts available from the Department of State Health Services. They'll introduce themselves in a second in Spanish and in English. For those attending through Zoom, I can also send those to email to you if you provide your email. Next slide. The agenda for today, we'll go over some introductions, a site summary, talk about vapor mitigation systems, a health update, the proposed plan, community involvement, some resources, and questions. Here from the site team, we have myself, the Remedial Project Manager, Ed McKeel, the Community Involvement Coordinator, TCEQ from the state, Scott, and Crystal as well. Ed, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey there, my name is Ed McKeel. I'm the Community Involvement Coordinator for this site. I would just like to take the time to say thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. We realize that you all live very busy lives, and we just appreciate you coming here this evening. We'd also like to thank the city of Grand Prairie for all of the work they did to get the word out about this meeting. And of course, all of our state partners, which we'll have a chance to introduce here in a moment. But again, thank you for being here. And we will definitely get a lot of good information out, and we'll have a very robust Q&A session later on. Thank you.
Other parties we have attending, we have the City of Grand Prairie, Cindy Mendez, as well as Cole Humphreys, the Deputy Pro Tem. We also have Texas Department of State Health Services that'll introduce themselves in a second, and some other members from EPA Risk Assessment and External Affairs. Jessica, go ahead.
I think I got the video working. So first, again, I'd like to thank y'all for being here. Your voices are important. And like Ed said, it means a lot that you're taking time out of your life to educate us to what's important for your community. So for those of you who aren't familiar with our program, we're the Health Assessment and Toxicology Program of the Texas Department of State Health Services. So just to give you some feedback, we have 4 people on our team, and we have backgrounds in environmental toxicology, data analysis, public health. And our main focus is to prevent and reduce exposures to hazardous substances. So, and if we see that there's a situation where people are coming into contact with hazardous substances, we provide information and next steps that you and your families can take to protect yourselves. I'm going to drop our website link in the chat, so you'll have that. And if you're there in person, Ms. Mendez was nice enough to print flyers. So any of the ones with the DSHS logos will have our contact information on it. And I just wanted to keep in mind, we know not everyone is comfortable asking questions in a community setting. So if you don't get a chance to ask yours, you don't feel comfortable, we do ask that you email us and call us. So today we have Eric Lawrence, who is our toxicologist who is working on a health consultation. And my name is Jessica Mauricio Price, and I'm the group health educator. And so that's our introduction. Thank you, Hope and Ed.
Of course. A little bit of background about the Delfasco Forge Superfund site. This site, the chemical of concern is TCE, trichloroethane, and it's a groundwater plume in Grand Prairie, Texas. The former Delfasco Forge facility operated as a munitions manufacturing and forge operations since the late 1950s. The facility ceased operations in 1998. In 2008, Delfasco filed for bankruptcy, and the remedial investigation completed by EPA identifies the source of the TCE plume. Here's some more site summary. In 2008, EPA's BRCRA program conducted a vapor intrusion investigation. TCE again was identified as the chemical of concern at the site. Later in 2008, homes with the highest vapor intrusion concentrations were provided mitigation systems. Bankruptcy funds were then used to offer those mitigation systems to 80 residential homes living over the plume. In 2014, the mitigation systems were installed to the 31 homes that accepted. In 2018, the site was listed on the national priorities list and became a Superfund site. The remedial investigations activities continue. We've finished a focused feasibility study in 2021. Looking forward to this year, EPA will solicit public comments on the interim remedy, which will be discussed a little bit later, and we'll also have another public meeting for it in the future. Here's a timeline as well as sampling and community involvement events. In 2008, EPA completed a sampling event. In 2012, there's a public meeting offering mitigation systems. In 2014, EPA and Tetra Tech, our contractor, did pre-mitigation sampling event as well as post-mitigation, which means that we sampled before and after the vapor intrusion mitigation systems were installed. In 2016, again, there was post-mitigation sampling. In 2018, two more mitigation systems were installed. In 2019, we did door-to-door outreach. In 2012, phone calls were made to citizens and voicemails were left if the phone calls were not answered. And then last year in 2021, we had a meeting with the city of Grand Prairie and we went over the proposed plan and the focus feasibility study concluded. Looking forward at this year, again, we have a public meeting tonight, and that was announced through door hangers and mailers. In the future, we'll be having a proposed planned public meeting in the spring, followed by a public comment period, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. EPA continues to offer mitigation systems to homeowners who will grant us access. EPA will fix any mitigation systems that have been damaged or out of service. EPA will continue to create an interim rod mirroring the proposed plan to address the source area of the plume. And EPA is working to procure a contract to create the remedial design to treat the source area. Here's a model of vapor intrusion. The original spill site was at the prior Delfasco munitions facility, where TCE went through the soil and into the groundwater. The groundwater flow is what causes the plume, and the TCE vapor then moves up through the groundwater and enters the building through an available pathway. As you can see a little bit in the model here, the spill again will go through the soil, contact the groundwater, the flow will carry the plume, and it will evaporate up into homes or available pathways. Just to emphasize again, EPA continues to offer vapor intrusion mitigation systems to homes affected by the plume. How to get a mitigation system? Please contact EPA. Here's my contact, my email, and my phone number to complete an access agreement so EPA can sample the air inside your home. If you have a damaged vapor mitigation system or yours is out of commission, please also contact me at EPA at that contact above, and we'll work to get it repaired or replaced. Here's an example of an indoor air sampler that we've done in the past called a Suma canister. So we would place this in your home and it will, over a set period of time, collect the air, and then we'll pick it up after. Here's an example of a sub-slab air sampler. So this is to test the air coming immediately from under your home, coming through any cracks that may be there. Here's an exterior photo of a vapor mitigation system that we are offering. And again, as previously introduced, we have Texas Department of State Health Services on the call. In 2012, they completed a public health assessment. And this year in 2022, they'll complete a public health assessment again. And shortly here in March this year, there will be a 3-minute English and Spanish video talking about vapor intrusion and mitigation systems. Texas Department of State Health Services is a resource for you to ask any health-related questions to. This video will be posted on the EPA site, on Texas Department of State Health Services, and hopefully shared on the city and state web pages as well. Let me repeat that for the translation. The Texas Department of State Health Services is a resource for you to ask any health-related questions. In addition, we're trying to post this video that will be available on the EPA website, as well as on the state and city website. Some chemical properties of TCE. TCE is a volatile organic carbon and is considered a dense, non-aqueous phase liquid. It is non-flammable. It has a low solubility in water and absorbs into carbon. It's a clear liquid and has a sweet odor. How does TCE affect health? Whether TCE exposure will affect any of your health depends on many factors, including how much TCE you are exposed to and how long the exposure is. How often you're exposed also accounts into that. If you have any health concerns, please speak to your health provider. And if you have health questions at the end, we have Texas Department of State Health Services on the call. People exposed to TCE may have eye, nose, and skin irritations, headache, or drowsiness. Long-term exposure to high levels can damage the liver, kidneys, and immune and nervous systems. TCE was used as a solvent for degreasing metal parts during the manufacturing process at the Delfasco Forge facility. Here's a photo of the Delfasco plume that we have from sampling groundwater. So as you can see, this purple square is where the Delfasco Forge prior Delfasco Forge facility was. And that's the source area for where we're looking to treat. The yellow rings intermediately right around that are the shallow groundwater. And the orange circles further out from that are the deeper groundwater. Here's another photo of the site as well, and this is showing concentrations of groundwater. As you can see in the orange here, again, that's the site area. That's where that building is. That used to be the Delfasco building, and where the plume has spread from there with the groundwater flow. I'm going to repeat that for the translation. The orange circle is where the prior Delfasco building used to be in operations. And as the circles get larger and turn green, that's where the flow of the plume is taking it. Some important notes. All residents should be connected to drinking water from the city. City water is not impacted by the Delfasco Superfund site plume. Any wells used for irrigation or other uses can be tested. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the proposed plan. The first purpose of the proposed plan is for EPA to identify preferred alternatives and provide rationale for interim action to address a source of TCE contamination at the Delfasco Forge Superfund site. Secondly, this will summarize site information for the source area identified in the remedial investigation. And lastly, provide information on how the public can be involved in the remedy selection process. Here's a photo of the vapor intrusion mitigation system that we're going to propose. Again, we'll have another public meeting specifically for the proposed plan in the spring following this meeting. We're looking to do soil vapor extraction. And in the red box, you can see, again, that's where the Delfasco building is in the source area. So homes above and within this blue box are available to get vapor mitigation systems if they sign an EPA access agreement. One more time for the translation. Again, the red box is for the Delfasco facility. And then the orange circle is where you have the source area. Homes that are within the blue outline are available to get vapor mitigation systems. Homes within the blue box are available to receive vapor mitigation systems if they sign an EPA access agreement. Here's a side of the map again, showing again in green where the Delfasco Forge site building was. The treatment area in the red box, treatment area in the red box, in the source area in the small orange circle. That is the proposed treatment area to treat the source of the plume. Once again, the proposed interim remedy is source control. The interim remedy soil vapor extraction system is important to treat the vadose zone, which is where the groundwater hits the soil beneath the ground, to prevent further migration of the plume and reduce source area contamination. The soil vapor extraction system will use activated charcoal as a filter for treating the vapors. The interim remedy will also feature a groundwater treatment barrier. The proposed groundwater alternative would include construction of 30 to 50 additional borings below the ground surface between the lower clay and upper sand layers. As part of a focused feasibility study that EPA completed, a pilot study showed that this would be a successful interim remedy. And here's a photograph or a model showing what that active barrier would do. Again, this would be injected into the ground and it would help treat the water and to help stop the movement of the plume. Here's a photo of an SVE treatment system. This is a technology that's been used on almost 300 Superfund sites. And again, this system works similar to a vacuum in the ground that will suck the vapors up, and they will go through a carbon filter, and the filter will absorb the TCE and then be taken off-site to be disposed. EPA has completed a community involvement plan that has 3 parts: the community, appendices, and the specific community involvement action plan. The community, this section covers EPA Region 6 plan for communicating and engaging with the Delfasco community. It also describes how Region 6 will address and identify issues and concerns. The community involvement plan relies on tools and techniques that EPA has developed over the years at hundreds of Superfund sites. Other sections also include an introduction to the site, an overview of Grand Prairie, Texas, the community members living near the site source area, and identifies an environmental justice screen and concerns raised during community interviews. This also will include information on the overall Superfund remedial process, an opportunity for public participation, the Superfund removal process, community technical assistance resources, site reuse, community involvement plan, community and stakeholder interviews, a questionnaire, glossary of terms, and acronyms and abbreviations. The community involvement plan is also posted on the site webpage, which is linked on another slide, and I'd also be happy to send. Again, just to emphasize, EPA continues to offer vapor mitigation systems to homes affected by the plume. How to get a vapor mitigation system. Once again, please contact me at either my email or my phone number and complete an access agreement so we can sample the air inside your home and provide a mitigation system if necessary. If you have a damaged vapor mitigation system or yours is out of commission, please also contact me at the contact listed above and we'll work to get it repaired or replaced. Access agreements must be signed by homeowners. Here's the site webpage linked at the bottom of the page below. You can also Google Delfasco Forge Superfund site and this will pop up on the internet for you. The arrow is pointing at some quick links to reports and documents, the admin record, site data, and public information repositories. The site repository is available at the Tony Shotwell Life Center. The address and contact is posted as part of this photo as well. This is a great opportunity for the EPA to provide space for the public to view records related to Superfund work at the site in person. Any questions?
Hope, I'm gonna butt in here just to let folks know that if they do have questions, we ask that they raise their hands, and you can do that on the bottom tray, the reactions icon. And once you click on that, there is an opportunity there to raise your hand. If you can do so, if you do have a question, we'll know to, or Hope will know to call on you, and I can ensure that you are then unmuted. If you happen to be joining by phone, and I'm just looking through the list here, I see a couple of phone numbers. So a couple of folks are joining by phone, and you'd like to ask a question, you can also raise your hand by pressing *9. And once you're called on, you can be unmuted by pressing *6. So Hope, I do see that we have a hand raised, Baron Fraker, so I'm going to unmute.
I have a question. What is this about? And we live in this area. How does this affect us where we live?
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, I apologize for the echo back. If y'all would feel free to send me an email with your specific address, I can let you.
What did she say? I can't hear.
Oh, you're muted. There
Can you
go.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my apologies. I'm not sure when that cut off, but if you would please send me an email with your address, I can give you more details on that. Just verbally, I'm not sure where your home is directly in relation to the plume.
I give you my address.
Yeah, you can feel free to email that to me. You don't have to say that on the call. You want me to, I can say my email or just provide it on the previous slide if you have that.
I have it. Yeah, okay. Yes. And then, yes, I just wanted to know how it affected us. What is this about? Does it mean it's leaking in the ground or what? This chemical?
So there was a prior DoD facility, a contractor that was producing parts in the 50s, 1950s through 1980s. And a degreasing metal part that they were using had seeped into the ground. So it went through the soil and through the ground, and it hit the groundwater. So it's creating a plume underneath the ground. I'm not sure, did you see a map that I put up on the screen earlier? I can put that up again.
I'm not from here. I'm from New Mexico, but I live here now. So I don't really know where this area you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with, where this place is at.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, let me put up a map really quick and see if that helps at all.
I didn't know where it was at.
It's, the address is 114 Northeast 28th Street.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's right off of Main Street and 28th Street. So if you live in this area, then you live on one of those number of streets.
That way. I guess kind of east. Yes. Okay, I'm just not familiar, but I just didn't know what this meeting was about. That's all. I just had a question about that.
Absolutely. Would you like me to put that map up, or do you want to just send me an email and I can send you a more individual response?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Hope, we have a couple questions in the chat if you want to take a look at that, or would you like me to read it out loud?
If you wouldn't mind reading it, that would be
Sure. So this is from LCG. That person has two questions. The first is, has any sampling been done at Fannin, the school near the site?
currently, we have not sampled over the school. We had been looking at, based off of our sampling, we have a pretty good idea of the extent of the plume, and the school at this time is not included in that. It is outside of the plume. Sorry, let me make that more clear at this time.
So the second question is, please explain the process to determine water is safe to drink.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we had talked about earlier, and at least to the information that's been provided to us, everybody should be on city water. Any private wells that are directly above the plume should only be used for irrigation or washing the car, any sort of outside hose, but not directly for consumption. And to our knowledge, that's currently the case. All city drinking water is not affected by the plume at this time. And then
So-
Cindy, I see another question in the chat box from Crystal at TCEQ asking how many people are in attendance at the Shotwell Life Center. Would you be able to answer that?
So this is Cindy Mendez. Did you need me to answer a question?
Yeah, Crystal from TCEQ had asked in the chat box how many people are in attendance at the Shotwell Life Center.
Okay. Hope we have a question here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a question about next.
I've actually got a couple.
Sure, however many you want to ask. You just talk.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. Number one is, do you know where the current hotspot is?
Yeah, so did you see the map I put up earlier? Otherwise, I can share my screen again so you can see that.
Okay, well, I'm going to interrupt you though. That's the shallow water spots. Do you know where the hot spot is, where the largest concentration in the deep water is?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me put up my map really quickly. If you can give me a second, I can explain it a little more.
See, that little map you got there might as well be in Greek because we can't see it. Can you make it bigger screen?
I'm working on that 1 second. So I'm having some trouble letting. Okay, can you see this map?
I see that one.
Okay, so this big green outline, this like rectangle here, that's the Delfasco Forge facility. So that's where the exposure and the leak happened. So from that facility, it conducted down into the groundwater. So right at the site, and that's the highest concentration area. So let me go back to another map that showed that a little bit here. So again, this dark orange here, that's the highest concentration, and that's right over, if you can kind of see under, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, right here, that's coming right from that building.
Okay, that's still not the question I asked. I asked where the hot spot in the deep water area is. As you go further to the east, out into the green area of the map, the hot spot where the largest concentration 2 years ago was over about 29th Street or MacArthur. I'm sure it's moved to the east since then. So do you know where it is now?
Yeah, based on our latest
It was
sampling.
in my backyard.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
I said, as a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, Rick Earhart told me it was in my backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have any questions specifically about your property, again, if you can email me, I can send you other maps as well to show you where that is currently. But I'm not sure exactly what you mean when you say hotspot, but this area right here is the highest concentration right by,
How long have you been on this now? How long have you had this? Not very long, it's obvious.
I'm sorry, if you asked a question, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, well, the other guys that were here before showed us where that was, and it was off up in the green area.
Are you talking about the butterfly time when they
The
showed us?
hot spot,
Well,
where the largest concentration of it is. It moves to the east as it goes down through the system,
Right.
Cindy. And it was over on the chart. As a matter of fact, Rick told me it was in my backyard. It was 2 years ago. He was at the same meeting when that was told to us.
the
And I'm
maps,
asking that question if it's
the
moves.
maps they have expanded the layout of the flume. So you're not
But as
outside of it now.
the hot spot moved, it should be moving toward,
It
it
is
should
all,
be
it
moving
all,
toward the
it is
river.
all moving,
Yeah,
right?
that's
But
why
the
I'm-
hotspot still remains there on site because the soil is still leaching TCE.
All right, that's, maybe hotspot's the wrong word. The largest concentration in the deep water area.
Oh, in the deep water area.
Yes,
Right.
I've
I
said
don't
deep
know.
water 3 or 4
We don't
times.
have any maps up right now of the deep water area. Right.
See that big circle, the little circle in the middle over
Yeah.
there?
Mhm.
That was where Rick told us the hotspot was.
Okay, Hope, Mr. Shotwell is asking if the small circle inside the second circle, right, not the bright yellow circle, but the orange circle where the deep groundwater is, where is a hotspot within that area of the plume?
That doesn't necessarily, that's not the hotspot again is the source. So that's just showing the contours in the ground. That's kind of just showing like the ups and downs of the ground. So that's where the extent of it is, but that's not a higher concentration than it is back at the source by the building. Does that help at all?
Well, it doesn't help him, but Hope, I think maybe what his reference is to is that when they overlaid sampling from inside the homes, there was kind of like a butterfly. It looked like a butterfly. I don't know if you've seen those maps, but
If that was the map, I had seen something vaguely similar to that from the 2012 sampling, but this is more updated from the 2016 sampling.
this is showing the groundwater. The other one was showing the vapor intrusion pattern. So I think maybe,
Now, there's a whole bunch of wells drilled over here in our area.
right.
Over on the north end. And 31st Street,
Mhm,
there's a lot of wells there. They used to come out and sample those wells.
mhm.
They could tell us what the concentration
Concentrations
of
were.
TCE in the water was then. And they had a map showing where the highest concentration over here was.
Okay,
And they told us where it was.
right.
And we want to know if it's moved.
Okay, so Hope, I think maybe we'll have to answer this by email, because he wants to see the comparison of TCE concentrations close to his house at the monitoring wells near his house between 2012 and now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you send an email with your specific address, I can send you the maps, but this is the map that has the groundwater, the sampling from the groundwater.
Okay, thank you. I can get you the data that
Yeah,
you
like
are looking for. Mhm, mhm.
Way out here.
It's 1,820,
So there's this numbers a lot smaller.
right,
So it had.
Well, that changes as depending on drought and other factors.
Are there any other questions?
And hey, this is Ed. If you're uncomfortable with asking a question on the camera or on your phone, if you have access to the chat, it's okay to submit questions that way.
Baron, I'm not sure if that hand just went up or if that was the hand from before. Do you have another question?
Hope, one of the questions asked was, we understand there's going to be work done in the source area, but what about the people who live on the other side of the plume? What plans are there to address the groundwater that is under their homes?
Out to the east. Yeah.
Out to the east.
Are we gonna just leave that there forever or what?
No, so as we talked about a little bit before, I know it's a long process. It can be a little bit confusing. So first of all, any homes that are above the plume.
Hope you muted yourself.
Did you all hear any of that or no?
You started at go from where you were at the houses above the plume.
Okay, so again, anybody that has a home above the plume right now is offered a vapor mitigation system. EPA needs a signed access agreement from the homeowner. So that will take care of the air that's inside your home. And again, everybody should be connected to city water. So drinking water should not be an issue. So first, we talked about the proposed plan. So that's going to access and work with dealing exactly above that building and around that building for the source area, soil vapor extraction that we had talked about a little bit earlier. And again, we'll have another meeting with more details on that following this meeting in the spring. And then after we treat the source area, then the entire site and the entire plume as a whole will be treated as well. So it's kind of taking steps one at a time, because if we don't treat the source first, it'll continue to spread. So kind of cutting the head off of it, if you will, and then dealing with the entire site. Did that answer the question?
Thank you, Hope. We'll ask another question after Councilman Lopez is able to ask his.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yes, no, thank y'all for allowing me to ask the question real quick. I know throughout the presentation, we mentioned getting a signed agreement from the homeowner. In this particular area, we do have a lot of rental property. So we have a lot of renters that live in the area that might be interested in getting their home tested. Does it have to be the homeowner, or can the renter sign off on this property?
Yeah, absolutely. So and Chris, if you know otherwise, please chirp in here. But to my knowledge, it does have to be the homeowner that will provide access, at least if there's any sort of installation of a vapor mitigation system, since that is in addition to the home, that does have to come from the homeowner.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is Chris Villarreal. I'm the acting branch chief of the Superfund remedial branch, and Hope works for me and my group. And yeah, we would need access from the homeowner to conduct the testing. In regards to a previous question regarding groundwater, in addition to addressing source area, we are going to continue our investigation of the groundwater. We're currently working to put contracts in place to do both, to implement the remedy once one is selected, as well as continue our investigation of the groundwater. So we're going to do both. We are focusing on the source area, but we're also continuing our investigation of how to address the groundwater in the long term.
Hey, Hope, I received another question via the chat. It was direct message to me. So
Mind reading that out loud?
I totally will. So could you please clarify why the plume only moved in one direction?
Yeah, so that's due to the flow of the groundwater. So all the water that you can't see that's under the buildings and under us, that's the direction that the water is flowing.
They would also like to understand how the school is not part of the affected area if it is so close to the site. And they would like to know if we can request testing for that school.
Yeah, absolutely. So y'all again are free to email me and put that request in, and we'll see what our options are. But currently that plume map, and again, I can put that up if that person would like, but the estimated edge of our plume and where we have sampled, it's not currently within the plume as it is currently now based off of our most recent sampling.
And I just shared Hope's email in the chat if you would like to send her an email with further questions and things like that outside of this meeting.
Hope, I have another resident here who has a few questions.
Yeah, just a little. Okay, so for John Lopez, how long have you been a city councilman?
I'm
Got a question?
going into 3 years.
3 years. Have you known about this, the EPA establishing the Superfund, which is a national high priority here in 2018? Have you known about that in the last 3 years?
In the last 3 years, no, I know that I've seen recent chatter, through social media, and that's whenever I became aware of it. So I got more interested in understanding what was going on with this site.
What about Mr. Richard Fernandez? How long have you been aware of this ongoing situation, considering it's a national high priority list? Have you been in contact with the environmentalist father, Mr. Bernard, in Washington? Because I know that he's upset and he stated that he wants something done immediately. So is this why we're having this meeting? Because all of a sudden, it's very upsetting. Because this is my family. This is my home. And nothing has been said. And I have $7,000 a month coming in, and I could just leave, but I didn't leave. I fixed my trees. My neighbor has a $5,000 fence. We are citizens here that are being neglected. This is called gross negligence on the part of Ron, which I will not call him a mayor, because a mayor is supposed to care about the people. I want to know how long you've known about this, and why all of a sudden are we having this meeting when this has been going on for 21 years, but the EPA started the fund here, the Superfund site here, 2018. I want to know what immediate actions are going to take place for those children down there, which are our future, and what are we doing about these high contaminant vapors, which are making my kids sick. My daughter had chronic fatigue. My father-in-law, I believe that's why he killed himself in our house, because he got sick from that contaminant, and he didn't want to live. So everybody on 29th Street supposedly has cancer and high levels of TCE in their blood. Who's going to pay for our blood to be tested? We're talking about the air, the quality of the air for our homes, but who's going to test our blood? Those people got their blood tested, but who's going to be accountable to test our blood, our water? I understand about the water and air, but who's going to have our blood tested to see how high the levels are in our blood? Because I inherited my house, and this is family. And how can this immediately be set up today when it's been going on forever? This has been going on for a while. And Mr. Bernard knows about it. Mr. Bernard knows what you guys are doing, and he wants immediate action. Is this why? Because he's on you guys? We pay taxes here. We have families here. And God sees us here. Maybe you are turning the eye the other way, but we live here, and we've been subject to this. My daughter's sick, and people on the other street are sick. And you know that this is irreversible. You know you can do whatever you can because you have to do something, but you know it's irreversible. So how long have you known about it, Mr. Fernandez? It's very upsetting. And we just swept aside because it's the lower side of town with the undocumented Latinos, but they forget there's some rich people still on the street. We still have some people in this jail money, but we're all human. We shouldn't be forgotten. We shouldn't take this long, because according to the EPA, the Superfund site is a national priority. It's on the national priority list. It's very hazardous. This is very serious, and we weren't told anything, and we're building roofs and we're cutting trees, and we're living life like everything's okay because we're trusting all of you. Well, thank God for the old man, Mr. Bernard in Washington, who cares. Because he's gonna get all of you together and make you guys accountable. Is this what this is? Because you guys just all of a sudden decided to show up. Very upsetting. You know it's irreversible. You know you're gonna do the best you can, but those that can't leave, that don't have money, their family's gonna be affected forever. My daughter's already affected. And then those kids, when are we gonna check that water together for those kids? How about we shut it down and we get those kids out of there? What is the immediate plan? What is the urgency? Where's the urgency? And I appreciate y'all having this meeting. Perhaps you didn't know I was gonna show up. I don't know. It's upsetting.
Ma'am, what did you say that your name was?
You want to put it in the chat? Okay. Jessica, how about I put that in the chat?
Okay. Well, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like your daughter, and I'm sorry that y'all are having to deal with this, might be experiencing some health effects. And so you might have some really significant questions. Typically, when you're concerned like this, we do suggest that you speak to your doctor. I put in the chat the number for Texas Poison Center Network, and that is a free service to all citizens of the state of Texas. And when you call, you will talk to a toxicologist, and through there you can coordinate with a medical toxicologist, and that medical toxicologist can help walk your doctor through this. Because when something like this is happening, you know, just general practitioners might not understand the seriousness of it.
So what about back to Richard Fernandez? I'm just trying to ask, how long have you known about this, and what has been done to take the steps to get something done? And why is it taking so long? If the EPA, you guys, this is a major thing. I mean, we're at a 50% rating. So if you look around, Houston is 60% rating. Then you got a place in Dallas that has a 60, I believe. So we're like 10% under Dallas, and that's like an acid. I think it's an acid pit or something. They have 60%, but generally you have 30%, 26%. So you have a 0 to 100% on your ratings. We have 50% rating on this street. And it's prolonged and it's pushed aside. And it's painful to know that we're just now in 2022 doing something. But all along we're being subject to all of this. How is it fair? How is any of this fair?
Jessica, maybe if you could put your the information for the contact for the toxicologist in the chat, we can get that written down and provided to the speaker.
Yes, I already did. And I just do want to let you know that there are people out here who do care about this. And there are people who have been working for years to try to get this resolved. And I'm hopeful that people as passionate as you and other people there can share with your community that if you're in this area that EPA is concerned about, you need to reach out and you need to get this mitigation system. So we appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your emotion, and it's completely understandable.
Jessica, are you saying that she should contact the Texas Poison Center Network?
Yes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anybody who thinks that they have been exposed to something hazardous, it is going to be answered. Somebody who's going to be there, and they could start the process from there. As well as talking to the family doctor, letting them know what's going on.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and this is Hope, just to piggyback off of what Jessica said again. We appreciate you so much coming out and expressing your concern. The biggest thing that we can do right now is, I'm not sure exactly your address, but again, please contact me, and so we can get you a vapor mitigation system if you don't have one, and that will clean the air for you inside your home. And again, drinking water should not be an issue as long as you're on city water. And if you do have a mitigation system that has something wrong with it, again, please contact myself, and I can share my information once again in the chat and we can get that fixed.
Do we have any more questions? Feel free to put it in the chat or, raise your hand. We're here to answer anything that you'd like to ask. Okay, I see that there's no more questions at the Shotwell Life Center. Is there anyone still here in the audience or anyone on the phones perhaps? So I'm not seeing any more questions. I do want to say that we realize that there's a lot of emotion and passion for your homes. And we do care, and we definitely will clean this up and help as best we can. Hope is available. Her email is in the chat. I'm going to put my email on the community involvement coordinator, and I can help as well if you're looking for information about the site, also about the community involvement plan. That was part of what Hope's presentation was. That community involvement plan is a living document that determines how EPA communicates with the public at large, definitely those affected by the site. And so we can add or take anything to it. If the public wants to be communicated a certain way, we can do whatever it is you would like. So for instance, we sent a public notice, and that was to most of the homes in the area. And of course, we worked with the city to put door hangers, and the city also put some signs up in yards and was there at the Shotwell Life Center. And so if there's anything more that we can do, if we can send emails, if there's anything that we're not doing to get our messaging out to you, please contact me and I will do my best so you are updated about this site as much as you need to be updated. And there's my email in the chat. Okay, I do believe, do we have more questions? All right.
We got one in the chat, but I responded to it.
Okay.
And again, for anybody that's on the line, if you guys want to put your emails in the chat, Ed and I can send you more information about the site. And then there's also some mailers that were available in person. Excuse me, not mailers, information sheets that were available to give you guys as well. So anybody who wants more information, please either email me, call me, or put your information in the chat, please.
Okay. So we did get another question from Shotwell about kind of what EPA is going to do to fix this. So Hope, do you want to talk about a little bit about the next step would be the proposed plan and what that might entail, which is where we're moving to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't mean to glaze over that in this meeting. Again, we'll have another meeting in the spring that will be specifically for the proposed plan. And that's going to talk specifically about the actions and the steps we're going to take and the remedy that EPA has chosen to address this. So, and again, as part of the slides that we can post that on the website, I'm just going to pause for the translation for 1 second and then continue to answer. So we have chosen soil vapor extraction, or we're proposing that at least. So that's basically a big vacuum that we're going to put in the ground at the site where the highest concentration is. So that's going to be able to vacuum all of that out and put it through a filter. So that'll, it's a carbon filter, and that'll absorb the TCE vapors. And then that will be, the filter when it's full, will be disposed of at a safe facility. So we're working on treating the source area first, and then we're working to treat the entire site. Richard, do you need me to repeat that? I know that was a lot at once. I'm going to repeat that one more time just for the translation. Sorry, that was a lot of information at once. So again, we're working to treat the source area first to stop the spread of the plume. And then we'll be treating the entire plume and all of that groundwater after we treat the source first to help stop the movement.
And so when we talk about the EPA proposed plan, EPA will produce a document that will have the different suggestions of cleanups, and we will put that out for public comment. And we will also have community meetings. There actually be public meetings where we'll have a court reporter, and we'll take all of the questions and the submitted comments down to inform that document.
Absolutely. I see another question in the chat. I'm just going to pause for the translation and then I'll answer that question. The next question in the chat says, why haven't you done anything about it if you've known about it all of these years? Again, I'm going to pause just for the translation. And the answer to that is, so in 2018, vapor intrusion, the pathway was just added to the available pathways to list it as an NPL site. So it wasn't until 2018 that it was added to the national priorities list, which it came to my program. So we've only had a few years with it. Just pausing once again. And in that time, we've done mailers, door-to-door efforts, calling people, having community meetings. And we are offering the vapor mitigation system. So that's the best thing homeowners can do at this point to have their air cleaned.
So we do have another question in the chat from Alejandra Martinez. She says, thank you for hosting this meeting and informing the public about the site. She's with KERA News. Hi, Alejandra. She was hoping that the EPA could give us the latest TCE reading at the site and also explain what that means for residents. What is the health hazard?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as the latest TCE readings, I think maybe if there's a little more specific question, I can coordinate with you to get you the results from that. But there's lots of readings from all across the site, so it's not just one specific number. Then what was that? Explain what that means for residents. Again, for residents, as we said before, please sign up for vapor mitigation systems. That has to be done by the homeowner. I'm just pausing for the translation. So again, homeowners, please sign access agreements so we can sample your home and install those vapor mitigation systems. If any were damaged as well, please contact me as well.
So when we talk about the health hazard, Jessica, could you maybe discuss a little bit about TCE contamination?
Yes, definitely. Let me figure out and get my video going again.
Thank you.
Okay, so for TCE, people come into contact with it when they breathe it in. That's what we're concerned about. That's the vapor intrusion. So once it's in the body, it moves from the lungs and it goes into the bloodstream, and it can move throughout the body from there. And they can cause many different health effects, just depending on how long you were exposed, how much you were exposed to. So at low doses over a long period of time, there can be damage to the liver, kidney, and immune system. Trying to slow down now for the translator. And these chemicals can cause heart defects in developing babies. So in the past, these chemicals were used as anesthetics. So that would be to make people unconscious during surgery. So we know that in high amounts, it can make people drowsy. And high amounts can also cause headaches, dizziness, and nausea. In extreme cases, coma and death. And TCE can cause liver and kidney cancers. So the most at-risk population is pregnant women, and heart defects in developing babies can happen at lower concentrations than other health effects. And then after that, the next lowest level is damage to the immune system. So again, this is why we say if the EPA has come to you and said, we're concerned about this, know that we are concerned about it too. Please get a mitigation system. If your friends and neighbors are not here, please let them know that they do need to contact EPA and get this mitigation system so we can stop exposures.
Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome. I hope I didn't go too fast. If I did, I can try to repeat stuff. I tried to go slow.
I'd like to add on to that a little bit too. Is that one of the things that we're doing at DSHS is developing a health consultation where we're using the sampling data from EPA to assess public health risks to people. And so one way that you could help us out a lot too is when you're getting the vapor mitigation system installed, EPA will be sampling your indoor air. And so we'll be able to use that data and look at the concentrations in your homes and give you very specific health risks that could be associated with those concentrations.
Thank you, Eric.
And again, Texas Department of State Health Services has provided some great handouts. So if anybody that has information on TCE, on vapor intrusion, anything like that. So once again, please email me if you want a copy of that, or put your email in the chat box, and I'm more than happy to send those out and give you the information you need.
For sure, and you can contact us too, and I can get it sent to you if you're interested.
So the next question is, since homeowners ultimately determine if the vapor intrusion or the vapor system gets installed, what options do renters have? Is there something they can do on their own account to clean their air?
No hearing. Ed, are you?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, so ultimately it does rely on the homeowner to install that to the house. So that's and a conversation has to be had either with the homeowner or the landlord. I'll have a little more. I'm just going to pause for the translation. And TCE evaporates very quickly when it's directly exposed to air outside. So the biggest thing is that it's getting trapped in the home. So the best thing that you can do if there's a conflict between yourself and the homeowner is keep air cycling in and out of the home if possible. If there's nice weather, to leave a window open. But again, it is on the homeowner, and there's nothing we can do about that. If they're not interested in that, but again, providing that information to whoever that might be, I think is going to be the best route forward.
So do we have any other questions, perhaps from the audience or in the chat or the phones? We just want to make sure that if anyone has any questions that we'd be able to answer. So when is the next community meeting is the next question. So we will be working on, for the proposed plan will probably be the next community meeting. We don't have a date for that yet, but I feel like we'd be looking towards maybe the summertime, hope?
That should be in the spring.
Oh, okay, later in the spring then. Okay. Okay, another question. Hope, you spoke about placing a large vacuum into the ground to extract chemicals from the affected area. When will that happen? So that's going to be, we have to do the proposed plan, and then once the proposed plan is complete and there's a selection made, then we go to the next stage, which would be the record of decision. And so Hope, you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So where we're at currently, our proposed plan is under review, and we will have a public meeting for that. Again, we're hoping that'll be really short, definitely in the springtime. So as soon as that's been reviewed, then we'll go into, like Ed said, the record of decision. So we're also, EPA is going through a contracting mechanism to get a remedial design. So that's kind of the engineering plan that'll actually go into all the specifics of how the vacuum, the soil vapor extraction system, where that'll be placed, where it's most effective, and where it'll be pulled out of the ground.
If anyone would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand or type in the chat. Chris, did you like to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're working on, even at this time, we're working to procure contractors for follow-on events for the design for further investigations. So we're not waiting for the decision to be made. We're preparing. So when it's made, we can move right ahead and start the design work, as well as continue our work in the investigation. As we've said before, the best way to address concentrate a risk from TCE is the major risk pathway is the vapor intrusion pathway for the site. So, and the best way to do that is a vapor mitigation system. So we're ready to do that for you. Just let us know and we'll get that done.
So we have another question from Sarah with the Dallas Morning News. What is the realistic timeline for cleanup to begin? She also mentions it later this year, next year, and then she says, thank you.
Good question. So where we're at right now, again, like Chris said, we're going through, or myself and Chris had said, going through that process of getting a contract in place. So the biggest thing also is when we have this proposed plan community meeting, the comments that we get back from the community will affect if we get positive or negative feedback on what we were proposing, if we're going to be able to move forward with that or not. So again, we've done a pilot study and that we got a good result from that. So we're hoping the community, again, like I discussed a little bit previously today about that proposed plan, we can go forward with that. So by the end of this year, we should have a contract in place. But as the cleanup continues for the groundwater, as Chris had discussed, the pathway is vapor intrusion. So the biggest risk factor is that vapor intrusion because drinking water is not a problem. So we're working to address the groundwater, but the easiest way to get rid of any risk is to have a vapor mitigation system in the home.
So I don't see any more questions in the chat, and I'm not seeing any other questions from the audience. Does the Shotwell Life Center have any other questions they would like to ask? Okay, looks like that's a negative. We're about 10 minutes out from our scheduled end time of the meeting, and I always hate to end these types of meetings early. So I'm okay with waiting if there are any other questions, because I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak or share something if they needed to. But just keep in mind that we are going to continue to move forward to get this site cleaned up, and myself and Hope are reachable You can call, you can email. I'll also put my number in there. Sorry. And we're here to listen. So I will just wait just maybe one more minute or so. But while we wait, I again would like to say, oh, we do have a hand up. All right, so from the Shotwell Life Center, go ahead. You guys can unmute yourself over there. You're muted. I can unmute you if I need to. There you go.
Okay, this is Shotwell Life Center. We have a question.
Yes, I wonder, do y'all have a copy of the plan that y'all put together to clean this up? What engineer has y'all hired to do this?
Yeah, so the first plan that we'll go through is the proposed plan, and that will be publicly available for anybody in the community to comment on. So that's under review right now, and that'll be the next public meeting we have here shortly. Was that the question?
No, we're going out in April.
So in the next several months, definitely.
As of now, you do have a plan put together.
The proposed plan is it's under review with here at Region 6 and headquarters.
Review for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
No, the proposed plan was on, well, go ahead, Hope, you could discuss.
No, go ahead, Ed. Okay.
As far as the proposed plan, it's that we've only been working to get that over the last several months, I believe, right, Hope?
Yeah, we started working on the proposed plan at the end of last year. Our first draft is complete, and we're waiting for, as Ed had said, legal to review that, our headquarters to review that, and the state as well. And then that'll be publicly available, and we accept and respond to all public comments that we receive on that. So that's a huge part of the community involvement there, is y'all can send us, as always, any questions, but specifically on the plan that we are proposing, since it's your community, any comments you have back to us will be responded to in an official manner, and that'll be part of that report as well.
So we do have engineers right now working on this. Engineers are hired by the EPA to work on this.
We're getting a contractor to get engineers to make the remedial design. So again, any comments that we get from y'all, we will have to take into account. So if we had engineers work on that right now, and then y'all gave us comments that you want us to choose a different remedy or something, then we'd have to scrap that. So we get any comments from you guys on that proposed plan first, and then as soon as that's okay with everybody on EPA and with the community, then we go forward with having engineers design that.
And we understand it's frustrating because the Superfund process does take years. And it's like, so we have like this little slide that kind of explains the Superfund process. And we did discuss it in 2018 when we had our first community meeting there at the Shotwell Life Center. But I'd be more than happy to send any supplementary information regarding the Superfund process and kind of how we're moving along. And again, we apologize. I realize that it can be frustrating in the time that it takes.
I mean, our goal is to clean up the site. Our goal is to prevent exposure. So the best way to prevent exposure are vapor mitigation systems. To address groundwater, our goal is so that you don't need vapor mitigation systems on your homes. But for us to do that, we need to address the source area, and then we need to also address the groundwater. But the goal of all those activities is to prevent exposure. So in the short term, the vapor mitigation systems will work to prevent exposure. In the long term, once we're able to remove the source area and address the groundwater, it'll be such that you won't need vapor mitigation systems. But until that time, that's the best way to prevent exposure. So there's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer are vapor mitigation systems. The long answer is designs and engineering and construction and implementing remedies on contaminants that have been in place for decades at this point. But, you know, our goal is to prevent exposure. And the best way to do that is to prevent the vapor exposure for this contaminant at this site.
I see that somebody asked a question about sampling in the school. Again, that's something we can look into and respond to, but at this time, none of the schools are affected by the plume or are above the plume. I'm just checking that y'all were able to hear the answer to that and that it was unmuted. The question about the school.
So one more question, how do we know that the school is not affected? Was testing done?
So when we look at the monitoring wells, we can see the outer limit of the plume. I can put, if whoever had asked that question, I'm also free to send a map so you can see that in the sampling that was done. But we had sampled the outer edge of the plume and it hadn't gone further than that extent to touch the limit of the school, or the school was not on top of the extent. Our last sampling that was done on groundwater wells should have been 2019.
Okay, we're getting to like the last few minutes of our meeting. Are there any other questions that people would like to ask? I know I've been getting a few direct messages for requests about the slides for this meeting, and then also maybe some slides about the Superfund process, which I can totally send to anyone who's interested. You just need to send me an email. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions. So again, I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for being here with us this evening, taking time out of your busy lives, and also having the courage to speak your emotions. I realize that for those of you living around this site, it can be difficult. We understand that. And so we thank you for being here with us, and please, if you have any other issues, continue to contact myself or Hope. But that's all I have for myself. Hope, would you like to say any closing statements?
Again, just echoing back everything that Ed said, we really appreciate y'all being here, and we have another community meeting coming up shortly. And again, there'll be plenty of notice on that, door hangers for that as well. Go over the proposed plan so you guys can give us comments back as well on what we're proposing to y'all to help address this for your community. So again, I'll post my contact one more time, and again, myself or Ed with any further questions.
Tom, do you want to close this out?
Will do, Ed. Thank you so much. Just one more thing, the meeting has been recorded, so we'll make sure that that's available.
And we will be taking the recorded meeting and posting that on the site page, and we'll have that link available here to you in the next few weeks.